from PRX.
Friends behind the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, whether you're just perusing this, can you peruse a podcast? I don't know. Is perusing only visual? I was thinking about perusing things in a bookstore because this episode may have like a quick bookstore visit. But whether you're perusing, it's just funny. Perusing the podcast is a nice alliteration. Let me look up peruse for later. P-U-R. I don't even know how to spell it, though. Peruse. But I don't know. Maybe like it looks like, I'll read the explanation. What is that called? Not explanation. I need an explanation of the definition. But you do peruse a podcast at first because if it's a visual only thing, you're perusing your podcast app. You're perusing podcasts in you peruse in your podcast app for podcasts to listen to. So if you're confused by my peruse, you may be in the right place. Welcome to Sleep With Me. This is a silly podcast meant to be your friend in the deep, dark night. Take your mind off of stuff, keep you company so you could fall asleep. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just talk you to sleep, just like you call a friend and you say, hey, talk to me about, do you know the definitions of very many words? No, but I can talk using the words without, I have a strange skill. I can peruse words without knowing their meaning. And they would say, technically, you can't peruse words. And I'd say, well, I can. It's just not, it disrupt the space-time continuum. They say, what happened with Earth 444 ZQ? It was the strangest thing. This guy started perusing words and everything went awry. So, yeah, that happened. But don't worry, that's not our timeline. In our timeline, my perusing is harmless perusing of words. If you were like, anyway, so this is a strange podcast. It takes some getting used to. Give it a few tries. What we got coming up is support so you can listen to the show free whenever you want. Then a long meandering intro meant to ease you into bedtime and get you comfortable. Then later on will be a bedtime story about some friends in a shopping mall. They may visit a bookstore. And that's it. I'm glad you're here. I work really hard, and I really hope I can help you fall asleep. These sponsors, the people who support them, are what make this show possible. Thanks so much. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots, where I talk about Sleep With Me Plus. I really believe and love making this podcast. And if you do too, if you believe the podcast makes your life better, if you believe that me hosting the show is important, if you believe that the podcast coming out twice a week is important at the variety of shows, if you believe you get something out of Sleep With Me, just takes a small percentage of you, those of you that say yes, 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 to actually take action, to believe in it so much, you sign up for and support the show at $60 a year or $120 a year, $240 a year. You support it monthly. But if you believe in the show like I do, think about supporting it directly. sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. And that's sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus and say, yeah, I believe in it. I believe I get a lot out of this show. Thanks so much. Oh, Mystery Bart, a lot of people help out in this show. Who are they?
This posty poster song sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes too. Carl W. the legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bart. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at JonathanMann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Hannah like banana. Leah does the transcription.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. If you want to be a rebel, if you believe in Sleep With Me, think about, and you can afford to support the show, sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Thanks, everybody. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble, getting to sleep, trouble, staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. It could be thoughts you're thinking about. So things you're thinking about, thoughts about the past, the present, the future, feelings, anything coming up for you emotionally, like anything, you're feeling about those thoughts, or feelings that are just there. It could be physical sensations. It could be changes in time, temperature, routine. You could be going through something. You could be anticipating something. You could be traveling, work a different shift, have guests, whatever it is. I'm here to keep you company and take your mind off of stuff. The only reason I list some of that stuff is for two reasons. One, so you know you're not alone. I am here to keep you company in the deep, dark night because I've been there. And most of the people listening right now have been there in their own way. And we all know how it feels for us, but we also can, a lot of us relate to how other people feel, like other listeners or other people that never listen to the podcast again even, because we've been in the same place, right? And I'm not just talking about physically. I'm talking about how it feels when you can't sleep or when you're anticipating it. And you might say, Scoots, you haven't experienced what's keeping me up at night. And I say, maybe not, but I can guarantee you someone is listening right now, somewhere in this wide, wonderful world, who can relate to how you feel. And they're really, this is true because I've heard from people. They are nodding their heads right now, welcoming you in and saying, yeah, I do know how that feels because I've felt it recently, but I found this podcast and it helps me. And I hope it can help you too, or that it guides you to the next thing that can help you get the rest you need. And that's the other side of this, is that you deserve a bedtime you don't have to dread. You deserve a bedtime without any rigmarole. Like a bedtime you could feel neutral about, at least, or look forward to, where you get the rest you need so your life is more manageable. And ideally, you get the rest you need so you could be out there flourishing and not having to struggle to fall asleep. And that's what I hope for you, and that's why I make this show, because I've been there. Now, the one thing is, it does take some getting used to. For some people, a lot of getting used to, because the show is very different. So give it a few tries and see how it goes. It's different, because what happens is I send my voice across the deep, dark night. I use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, which means my voice is not traditionally soothing. We do have an official jazz singer of the podcast. I haven't been in touch with the Silvertone, but we do. The Silvertone, Chris, is the official jazz singer of this podcast, and he has dulcet tones. That's why I call him the Silvertone. But mine are creaky, dulcet, not traditionally soothing. We say, oh, it's kind of like a friend talking to me. And I go off topic. I get mixed up. I have to figure out what words mean. I misuse words, gratuitous alliteration. There's a lot of things that, that's one of the things in this podcast. But there's plenty of other stuff out there that does have gratuitous alliteration. And you'd say, my word, there's gratuitous alliteration in this podcast? And I'd say, there may be. This podcast probably, I promise and I underdeliver. But, Great British Bake Off is one example. It does have what I feel in a good way. I'll just say this. I'm gratified. Maybe their alliteration is not gratuitous, but I'm gratified and grateful for their alliteration. Because gratuitous kind of sounds pejorative, but it's not. In this case, you say, well, you could have like it's kind of like a butterfly flying in the flowers. You'd say alliteration for alliteration's sake is just fine by me, but I do make a sleep podcast where I don't even know what the word peruse means. Okay, so what else takes some getting used to other than stuff like that? Okay, the podcast is very different. You're probably tired. You've probably been looking for something to help you fall asleep, right? And then you found this show either for searching or because someone told you about it. And then you're like, what's up with this? Is this guy serious? I say, no, not really. I mean, I take my job seriously. But yeah, I'm so serious. You don't need to listen to me. This is a podcast. You just kind of barely listen to it. And that takes some getting used to. But it's kind of like background noise you could listen to. Again, like something like a TV on in the other room or someone talking in whatever the social compact is. Even if they don't know the social compact, you're like, I'm going to pretend to listen to you barely. This one, I'm totally fine with that. You don't have to pretend you're not falling asleep, right? You just doze right off. Like a seminar in a warm classroom after lunch. I mean, holy moly. So, I mean, that's why they invented Zoom, I think. I mean, even on Zoom, it's not always easy, but at least you'd say, I got to turn my camera off. My dog's, whatever. I got social interference. They say, I think that's this. And I say, oh yeah, it's total social interference going on here. It's a technicality. So, it's a podcast you just barely listen to. It's also a podcast. It's a podcast. It's a sleep podcast. It doesn't put you to sleep. I'm here to keep you company while you fall asleep, to take your mind off of stuff. There is no pressure to fall asleep with this show. I'm going to be here over an hour so that you don't have to worry about when you fall asleep. There's people who are listening who can't sleep. I'm here to the very end for them and for you. I'm here to be your boar friend, your boar bae, your boar sib, your boar bud, your boar bestie, your neighbor, your boar bee, your boar burr, your boars. To keep you company as you drift off, to take your mind off whatever's keeping you awake. Peruse, though, let's see. Peruse, let's go to Cambridge. Peruse, meaning it's read through something to see if you're interested in it. Can we find out, like, what it's, open the news? Okay, so let's go to, etymology, right? Peruse. This is live. It's from the Latin prosequi. Let's see here. Peruse. This isn't the archaic peruses, literary. Proceed along, engage in a course of action. That's pursue. Oh, whoops, pursue. Somehow oh boy. Prosequi. All right, well, my phone's as mixed up as I am. So, but what was I saying? I'm here to take your mind off stuff and keep you company. The other thing that can throw people off is the structure of the show. The show's structured in a very specific way to benefit as many people as possible, but you can adjust it if you decide, hey, this particular format does not work for me, but this is the way we get it out to get the most people to fall asleep to it. So the show starts off with a greeting. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Then I say something silly, something Philly. And this time it was about perusing podcasts or whatever. Let's see you feel seen and welcomed in. You say, okay, get the tone of the podcast. Maybe I'll check it out. Then there's a sponsor support, so the show can be free. Now, if you decide you prefer something without ads, you can get that on Sleep With Me Plus or on Apple Podcasts or through our referral program. But most people prefer this ad-supported version and listen linearly. After the support is a long, meandering intro. Separate from the support, it is a show within a show. And, this time we talked a little bit about gratuitous, what do you call that? Alliteration. And gratitude for gratuitous, there you go. Great gratitude for alliteration. Oh, wait, no, that's, alliteration starts with an A. Oh, I was trying to use alliteration gratuitously with the word gratuitous. So, golly, like I'm trying to find, It makes you groan, groaning to my gratuitousness. So, what was I saying? Oh, structure show. The intro goes on and on and on. It ineffectively introduces the podcast. It's different every single time, but it follows a similar structure because it's supposed to ease you into bedtime, but it's different every time because whatever keeps me awake is very grouchy most of the time and very contradictory. And so something repeats, like if the intro is the same every time, at least for me, that part of me that keeps me awake would be like, that would stick out. And say, I can't, the podcast is the same every time at the beginning. So that's why the intro is different every time. The reason it is like 15 to 20 minutes long is so that you have a buffer between like your official bedtime and your falling asleep time is to ease you into bedtime. So some people are getting ready for bed listening. Some people are doing a wind down activity or chilling or, they're not in bed yet. They might be doing something. I strongly recommend doodling or doodling in the air with a laser pointer or, thinking about like the Pointer Sisters would be another one. Or, maybe pointillism. I don't know. But, yeah, it's meant to ease you in. But some people are in bed getting comfortable and just, pluffing their pillows and getting in bed. There's a small percentage of people that are already asleep, which we're so happy for. There's a larger percentage of partners that are asleep. We're so happy for them, really. And then there's about 2% of people that skip the intro. And then there's like people that support the show and only listen to stories on Sleep With Me Plus. But there's also people that only listen to intros on Sleep With Me Plus. Or people that listen to compilations, or if you listen all night long. But for most people, the intro is meant to ease you into bedtime, not to put you to sleep. And then after the intro is support again, so the show can be free, paying for it's optional. And then it'll be a bedtime story. It'll be friends in a mall, multiplex, and helping the mall. In this case, I don't know. They're being helpful in the mall. And then there's some thank yous at the end. So it's the structure of the show. That's why I make the show, is because I've been there and I believe you do deserve a good night's sleep. Our world will be a better place if you're rested. So I'm really glad you're here. I work really hard. So do a team of people. And we really appreciate your time. You checking the podcast out and coming by. And here's a couple of ways we're able to do it for you for free twice a week. Sleep With Me is brought to you by Progressive, where customers who save by switching their home and car save nearly $800 on average. Quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $793 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2021 and May 2022. Potential savings will vary. All right, hey everybody, Scoots here. This is our episodically modular series. It's called Multiplex. It's a series of episodes that are episodically modular with a touch of seriality, which means you could listen to these in any order. I believe this is episode 11, but you could listen to all the other episodes as prequels. And you'd say, well, I thought prequels always came in threes or ones. And I'd say, well, in this case, 3, 6, 9, 10, plus one. Three sets of prequels plus one. And then this is, we called it episode 11. But for you, it's episode 1. Or if you're a regular listener, the other cool thing is the main character will catch us up on most of what's been happening. And everything happens at a very slow and sleepy pace. But this is a tale about some friends at a shopping mall. They're helping out in the mall. They're helping out characters, workers at the mall, helping one another and growing. And, they're on an adventure. So that's the summary of the show from me. I'm so glad you're here. I really am so grateful I get to put you to sleep and keep you company on a regular basis. So it really is my honor. And, next up, we've got, what's really an honor is always to have our Hollywood announcer come all the way from the greater Los Angeles area or other places, film fest, places where he's appreciated, for in the daytime, in the evening. But we get Antonio after dark, and I'm not talking about that would have been on what used to be called Cinemax. But I could see Antonio after dark, like at a fireplace, like with a jacket on, calmly doing something and helping everybody unwind. But in this case, he just comes here because he loves all of you. He loves putting you to sleep or being a part of this thing. And I guess in some sense he loves, he's nodding, which is making me uncomfortable. I was going to say he loves me. I love him. And I feel like Barney all of a sudden, but we are a great big family. To quote Barney, I love you, Antonio. You love me, clearly. I mean, let's just, in an odd couple way. Yes, I get it. He said that, Mike didn't pick it up, and we're a great big family with all the listeners. So without further ado, your Hollywood announcer, Mr. Antonio Banderas. That's touching. This is a Friends Beyond the Binary. So ladies and gentlemen, the boys and girls, it's time to journey into the multiplex. Yeah, flickety flock. Oh, thanks, Antonio. That was smooth, too. And now, maybe I'll get a Barney suit. I wonder if hopefully there's no, that might be a good thing that might keep you quieter. Like if you were in a suit, as long as it didn't have any infrastructure, we just need like a cheap Halloween costume version. That only has the outside of Barney. Also, a lot of people probably don't know who Barney is anymore, but that's fine too. But that's Mr. Antonio Banderas. This is Multiplex. Thanks for being here, everybody. Hi, everybody. My name's Wyatt. Welcome to my tale. I've been recording this now, looking back at my life here and sharing an adventure my friends and I went on at a multiplex, some shopping mall. And it's the reason I'm telling you this adventure is, people think I had a public access show about where I would show old movies, autumnal seasonal movies with characters from those movies. And sometimes I'd interview them before the show or in between segments. And it was just something I did for public access for fun. It's part of my hobby. And now in the internet age, I became popular. Just within a certain subgenre of fans. But they said, how do you do the makeup and the prosthetics and the special effects? Even people from Hollywood did call me. And who were these performers? Who did the writing? Because it's like nothing we've ever seen. And that wasn't also to take away from the shows that already existed, some of which were on broadcast television, which were all very good, a lot of them. And a lot of them had good interviews and effects. It was just to say that mine were different and not associated with public access television. But the reason is because it was real. And I want to clear the record that these were friends of mine from another world. And they're real, but you're not going to believe that, right? You're saying this is just an audio recording I'm listening to, and you're just a character, and, none of that's real or anything like that. And I'd say, okay, fine, that's fine. We can agree on that part. Why, right? Because you may be asking why you talk about it anyway. Well, the more important thing is I went on the way I met these friends and made friends with these characters was that I went on an adventure with my friends from high school. But the reason I want to tell the tale isn't because it was a grand adventure, and it was, like an adventure no one could ever have but us. But you're on an adventure like that too. I hope you understand that. And I guess I didn't realize that that's like part of the message I'm trying to get across, because we went on a grand adventure that didn't end in greatness, that didn't end in transcendent amazement. And our adventure ended in an average life in the best way possible for each one of us, except for Boyd. But Boyd wasn't, Boyd was, but anyway, the reason because three of us, myself, Wyatt, Santos, San, and Josie, we were all in different ways what people may call A-type personalities, overachievers, destined for greatness, without like crushing external pressure either. There was pressure, but we were all headed to halls of ivy, to unlimited horizons, which is kind of contradictory because they never, when they say you got an unlimited horizon or whatever, really they mean you're going to fly high in the sky. And, you know, that's what we thought we were not only destined to do, but supposed to do, and what would bring us happiness. I mean, we're just teenagers, right? But what we found in this adventure was that our paths diverted. And we instead of I mean, I guess it was a road less traveled, but it was more like, hey, this road's not so fancy. Why don't you try traveling on this one? And you might say, Boyd, you're trying to be fake humble. And that's not something to like, and I'd say, no. I mean, maybe I am. I'm not perfect, right? I'm just trying to say that nobody ever tells an adventure that ends in, I mean, maybe they do and you just don't remember it, but an adventure that ends in kind of average stuff, but that an adventure gets you there. Or maybe you say, how's that person just smiling and doing that stuff? And even that's why I guess maybe I am selfishly telling this tale for myself. How did I get so lucky? One, to have an adventure I could never tell about until now. But two, that the adventure led me to someplace satisfactory, but not, it's shiny in its own way. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if anybody probably hear this, but so the four of us, three of us, Santos, Josie, and I, Wyatt, we were all destined for greatness. I mean, you say, well, that's what somebody who never achieved greatness would say. That's fair enough. You say whatever, you're free to say whatever you want to say. Yeah, that's fine. But so we were all destined, but what happened was I had a misstep or two on my path and full scholarship to a very, highly acclaimed university. But I still was headed that way. I said, well, I'll still find another way to pay for going to that highly acclaimed university. They should want me anyway. But as a teenager, I was also like, I guess I didn't just say that. I said, I got to find a way under my control, pull up my bootstraps, because if I don't have that extra money, I can't go. And that was when we ran across Boyd, the corncob kid, Boyd was known as at our school. And Boyd emerged from a culvert as we were playing mini golf or finishing a game of mini golf. And he said, more or less, this is a short version, on the other side of this culvert is a shopping mall. You all know about it. It's been closed for years. In the shopping mall is I'm going to be like a juice concentrate. They've been abandoned there. They're still usable, and I can sell them to make money, but I need help. There's a lot of the concentrate, and it sells for a high price, so there would be a lot of money for us to share. All I need is your help. This is an opportunity, and it's knocking. Boyd didn't say that, but I thought that was a dramatic thing to add in there because it's the truth. And so we said, we'll answer the door. Let's go. We went into the shopping mall to get this Julius J. Juice concentrate, and we found that slowly we realized that something was awry in the mall, something beyond our understanding. A few things we found out slowly. Time in the mall was operating much slower than in the outside world. Or no, much faster, I guess. One day at the mall equaled an hour in the outside world. Is that faster or slower? I don't understand. But anyway, and we had planned on spending the weekend, so we'd all covered for each other at our houses. So we had about 2 days of cover time. So time was different. The mall was different because it had been closed for years, abandoned, surrounded by fencing. But the stores were stocked. There was food for us to eat. There was occasionally workers, though they did seem to come from another world. But they weren't from the big farm in the sky either. But they were real but not real. We also realized that the Multiplex was playing movies, and the characters from the movies, these were classic movies, autumnal-themed movies. The characters were leaving their movies and wandering the mall. Those characters needed our help. And by helping them, they would be able to return to their movies, and their movies would result in a different ending. None of those movies end well for those autumnal figures. But in our versions, when we helped them, they would go back, and then it would become a cereal commercial. Then we met the Crispy Commander, Commander Crunch, who was actually a cereal mascot in the, like, that was real. But we'd already spent enough time in the mall. It struck us as different, but who said, yeah, I need your help helping these autumnal figures, and they're going to become cereal. I'm going to make money from the cereal. You'll get the money, and you'll keep your world protected because you don't want these autumnal figures leaving the mall, obviously. And so when we were in, and when we last left off, the person who would not be seen, we had watched their film. Josie had gone into their film and sprained her knee, or more than sprained it, but in a way that had been treated in the movie. And and we had kind of got a taste of this person who would not be seen. You know, they had power of invisibility. In the movie, they were full of chaos and unkindness. And we didn't this was the first movie where we were kind of stumped of, do we want to help this person even at all? And then we crossed paths with them at the tea shop, right? And they were there. They'd made tea for us, and they'd asked us to sit down to have tea with them. We'd also covered them in paste and tea so we could see them. And I guess that's where we left off. So, yeah, like usually I take a break when we're sleeping, but we weren't asleep here. But basically, the person that could not be seen, they said, hey, okay, let's have some tea. Ha, you covered me in tea. You got me. I guess you'll be able to see me from now on for the time being. Wonder if this will be itchy. There's some in my ear, the whole thing. They said, sit down, let's have some tea together. And we were just, they said, sorry you injured your knee, Josie. And they said, sit down, I'm a provider of tea, and I've been a good provider for all of you, haven't I? And we're like what? Because they were explaining. Because one of the things we just had trouble figuring out was that the mall was running, but there wasn't anyone running it. Occasionally there was a worker, but the workers, based on this transverse plane theory that Crispy Commander, Commander Crunch, the Crispy Commander had told us, was that this mall is built on or intersects with the transverse plane. Things come through the transverse plane that need assistance, whether it's autumnal figures or mall workers and other things that are at play beyond our understanding. But that's basically what you need to know. You're supposed to help people. And when your transverse plane is a place where, I guess, the more I'm learning about it, like things reach out across universes, may or may not be parallel, may just be intersecting, that need assistance. And you help. Lesson for life if I ever heard one. So, we were like, how is a mall? I mean, we weren't totally we were underthinking it, I guess. And here was the person who wouldn't be seen saying, I've been the one running the mall, stocking the food court, providing for all of you. And we were like, well, we thought it was magic, or, the magic of whatever's been happening here. And they said magic and hard work. Right. You're right. It is magic. Like, I'm like the one that cooks the food is like, you know what I mean? I'm the worker. But yeah, the stuff is there. Sometimes it needs to be organized or the ingredients have to be mixed. But yeah, I'm running around. I'm hiding. I've been hiding from all of you. So when you come, you just see the hot dogs circling on that thing. And maybe you smelled them ahead of time. Maybe you didn't even know it, or the popcorn's ready to go. But that's because you never thought to look for someone who couldn't be seen. And he had a laugh at that. We kind of did too, because we never would have thought we needed to keep an eye out for a person who couldn't be seen until we saw the movie. And then even then we didn't think about it because we said we better keep an eye out for the person who can't be seen because they are very frowny faced. Not that they, and we said, but this doesn't, well, why would you be doing that? Because, again, particularly Josie, who had kind of seemed like if Josie was Josie's knee, that Josie's path to the halls of Ivy and great achievement and full scholarships for athletics may not be the case anymore. Like, what are you doing? And they said, well, I'm the mall, like, I'm like helping out in the mall to help all of you. Haven't I done a good job? Aren't I a good worker? And then I think they almost said person. Like, and we said, well, yeah, I guess you've done a good job. Yeah, thank you for feeding us. But why are you helping us is a question. Like, you're just doing it for fun because you're a good person now? Because the person and they said, well, no. Crispy Commander Crunch, they talked to you too. They asked me to do it, to host you in a sense at the mall. And we said, yeah, but why? Well, because you need to eat, you need to feel at home a little bit, right? You need a place to rest. And the Crispy Commander's busy. So we said, again, it's particularly Josie said, but this doesn't fit with your film. Like, in the film, no offense, you are not a good person in the film. And I didn't see you doing any hosting or preparing anything other than chaos and not kind action. So this doesn't make any sense at all. This is very out of character for you. And the person who can be seen, luckily because they're covered in tea, they held their hands up in a way, like a way of like a passive, like they said, you're right, I am. Like, I want to change. And the Crispy Commander told me the only way to, Commander Crunch told me the only way to change is to change my actions and to behave like a host. And that then I wouldn't be that person that you're saying I am or I was. I needed to be a service to all of you. And then we said, wait a second, so how long you've been here? Because then and they said a little while before you came. I didn't, I guess your next question, the Crispy Commander kind of sensed you were coming, but didn't know you were, I didn't know who it would be. And there were already the employees that would come and go, and they would, I couldn't help them, but I could kind of help to keep, make sure that they felt like they were actually at work. I'd pretend to be a customer even. And I said, wait a second, okay, so you're here to help us. And then we're here to help you. I mean, we're supposed to help you. So how are you're helping us help you or the people before you, right? And the person who couldn't be seen said, yeah, I guess, but we're supposed to help you though. But if you're already changed, then we don't really need to do any work, right? Cause usually we're trying to help the person in the film change. And this is where I kind of took over because Josie had a strong, the person who couldn't be seen, they would throw bikes and take people's bikes and throw them in canals. And that's why Josie had gone into the film and experienced what it was like. But also Josie had a knowledge of the internal life of the invisible person. And so we kind of kept our distance. Like, this was a blockade. But the truth was, like, if they were saying what they were saying was true, we could just put them back in the movie right then. And I told them that, and they said, and I said, but for normal, we have to help somebody that works at the mall. And then somehow that gives us a clue to help you. And they said, but I'm a mall worker. And we said, no, you're working at the mall. You're not a mall worker. And we said, but this changed a little bit as time's gone on. But every time we still have kind of helped somebody. And then we said, thank you for the food. And we kind of all got a sense of like, maybe we should have like a little discussion away from the person who couldn't be seen. And then they said, but I do need your help. Like I do work at the mall and I get what you're saying. And actually I do need your help. And we said, but yeah, you're not a mall worker though. And then Josie said, well, what do you need our help with? And then they kind of got quiet and they said, they looked around. They even got up and checked all the cabinets in the room that were Crispy Commander size, Commander Crunch, Crispy Commander size cabinets. They said, I need you to keep this a secret between us. And we all said, maybe, depends on the secret. Like, can't promise to keep a secret till you know the secret, but if it's keepable, we'll keep it. And they said, well, I don't know if I want your help. I want your help because I don't want your help. I don't know if I'm ready to go back yet. I'm not fully changed, you know, they kind of went on that kind of thing. But again, there was something hollow. Maybe it was just that they couldn't be seen, but all of us sensed it. And we said, okay, well, we're going. And they said, and then Josie said, you got to be, I've been inside your head. You got to be more honest. You're not being honest with us or fully honest. If you want to tell us a secret, tell us a secret. And they said, I'm not sure I totally trust the Crispy Commander. And I don't think I want to become a serial. I don't think I don't want to go back in my movie if I become a serial, like I become a serial. I want to go back and change. And if I go back, I guess I don't want to change, or I want to change, but I don't want to change into something else. And we were like, you've been watching us pretty closely, huh? And they said, yeah. And we said, but they seem pretty happy, you know, Frankie, the mommy, and the Count of Chocolate. They all seemed, they got what they wanted in a different way by becoming serial people. And the person who couldn't be seen said, I don't know if that's what I want. And we said, well, maybe you don't want it because it's unknown and unexpected. And they said, but I think you're right that in my world, I was not good. In my world, I sowed chaos. And in my world, I was only focused on me. And like, I don't want to go back to a different world and change, or go back to my world, kind of change, and then go to another world. And we said, okay, well, and then Santos got an idea, and Santos said, okay, so sounds like we need some time here. Let's keep it. I think this is something we could keep because it's just basically normal mistrust. We don't trust you totally. You don't trust the Crispy Commander. Not sure we do. I can't speak for everybody, San said, but I'm not sure we do anymore either. But maybe we buy some time. Maybe this is maybe we are supposed to help you. You do work in the mall. And Josie said, well, what do you have in mind, San? And San said, let's go to the bookstore. And we said, the bookstore? And Boyd said, theory and action. Interesting. And we said, what do you mean theory and action? And San said, yeah, I think it's like school time. And so we said, would you come to the bookstore with us? And there happened to be 2 bookstores at this mall. And the closest one was Whitman Books. So we went to Whitman Books, and the person who couldn't be seen came. It was interesting because only their upper body and a little bit of their lower body had tea and paste on it. But so they kind of looked like a floating tea bush or something. But we said, come on, we'll go, and we're going to trust that you're not going to do anything or try to clean off your tea. And actually, this was another idea we had while we were walking behind the person who couldn't be seen's back. Boyd came up with this idea too, and used a different kind of glue to put a sign on the back of the person who couldn't be seen. It did say something that, signs said, this is my bottom, like more or less. This is my backside. This is the backside of water. Splash the backside of water. Something like that, the sign said. But it was on their back where they couldn't see the sign. I mean, I wonder if they looked down at their belly, but it was covered in tea, they would be able to see through and see the sign. Or if they stood in a mirror, the sign would just be floating. But because their body was covered in tea, I don't know. It's just an extra idea. So we got to the bookstore. We said, okay, San, what's the plan now? And San said, reading assignment. Like, you'll need to read, and we'll go back to working at the mall, but you stay here. And, like we'll enter. I mean, it's not like we're going to leave you, but we'll come back, and we'll give you books to read, and you basically will give us oral reports on the books, and they'll help establish you. And Boyd was already out looking for books. So Boyd came back first with 2 books, Getting to Yes and The 1 Minute Salesperson. And then Santa already ran off and came back with 2 books. And they were all, the funny thing was everything was in different sections. And Santa's books were in books, I guess laughing because I don't know if it fits anymore, the section. But one was called The Last Barrier. Another one was The Teachings of Don Juan, and gave those to the invisible person. And then Josie was off, and Josie came back with The Handmaid's Tale and this book, The Ways of Seeing. And I guess I had some experience with my family and stuff, so I went and got like 2 books that I'd seen around my house a lot, and I'd seen my parents reading. One of them was called The Big Book. Another one was called 12 and 12. So I gave those to the person who couldn't be seen, who had never read any of these books. They said, I thought this one's the Bible. And we said, read those books slowly over, and Josie said, wait a second. Meanwhile, started looking through and then called me over and said, go to classics and see what you can find. Like, I'm looking through autumnal books, and I found something, check classics. And then sent San to go to the children's books, see if there's illustrated classics or comic classics. And we said, why? And it didn't take long before I realized what I was supposed to be looking for in classics. Well, first off was the Invisible Man, which I said, okay, that's, I pulled that out. And they said, oh, yeah, oh, that's funny. But then I said, wait a second, what about Frankie, the Count, and the mommy? And I started to look for those books, and the books were not they weren't the original books. And then we kind of all found them at the same time in different sections of the bookstore. So instead of a tale, like it was a full novel about the Count called The Count de Chocolate, not The Count. And it told the tale of the Count de Chocolate as the cartoon. It was a full piece of fiction, like almost like nowadays people write fan fiction, right? It doesn't necessarily always come out in a paper book, but if it did come out in a paper book, but it said it was classic, but it was someone writing a whole fictional novel about a cartoon figure on a cover of a cereal box who has a cereal based on them. And then there was Frankenfunk. And I said Frankenfunk, and it was another full novel. I can't remember if there was authors or not in my memory, or did I even look, or was it just not clear? And it was a tale of amalgamation who became in a funk. It was, I was just paging through it, right? But the thing was that in Illustrated Classics, it was the same thing. No mommy. It was about like this sock puppet, like it was, again, this character from the cereal and not the original characters. And I don't know, but the Invisible Man was still the regular book. And we were like, what is going on here? Have things been changed? Because in every section of the bookstore, the books were changed. And we're just confused. It was confusing. Meanwhile, though, the person who wouldn't be seen, Boyd kind of set them up at one of the employee workstations and said, we're going to keep you in here. We're going to check on you, but we're going to keep coming back too. And then we'll see, how you're doing, how you're progressing and that kind of stuff. And then we'll come check on you. And so we left and we closed up the bookshop. And then we kind of had like a kind of conference of we sat down on one of the dried out fountains and started to think what our next move would be. All right, this is wide here. Sorry, I got a little interrupted there with my remembering, and I had to take a break, to be honest. But we were sitting there trying to come up with a plan of what to do next while the person who couldn't be seen was occupied. Now, one thing we realized was that Boyd had taken a book out of the bookstore, and it was a book. I don't know which one it was. Back then, you'd have these reference books about movies, and nowadays you could just look that up on the internet. I don't know if this is Leonard Maltin's book or somebody else's, but listing all the movies. And as Boyd was looking through that, we said, let's go to the movie store where you could rent movies. But there was also, so we went there first, but we were also like, maybe we could go to there was a store that sold movies and at the time CDs and cassette tapes, some records. And so we went there as Boyd was trying, and Boyd had, it wasn't easy looking through a big reference book. But Boyd said, yeah, in this book, the movies are changed too. And what we found when we went to the movie store. Now, this wasn't all Buster's movies, that famous movie, all Buster's movies. Did you know that in this, that there was a shoe store called Buster Brown? Then it became all Buster's movies. That was where everybody when I was a kid. That's where everybody went to get movies, and you could get free balloon, I think, too. But we went there. No, we didn't go. No, did we go there? Was it in the mall or not? I don't know. But we went to the movie rental store. Believe it or not, they didn't really have any of those movies. They didn't really have a big classic movie section. So we weren't able to get confirmed that the movies had changed. So then we decided to go to the theater and check on the other movie, right? Because we knew another movie was playing, another film. And maybe that was let's just use our time efficiently. And when we got to that part of the multiplex where we could hear a movie playing, the doors were locked, and they were locked up. We couldn't get the doors open. So then we were listening to the movie, and we couldn't really hear very much. We could hear some music playing, but other than that, I started to believe that I knew what the movie that was playing was. And I was convinced, I said, this, what's happening, this movie that's playing is a metaphorical movie, the most metaphorical of the autumnal films. Everybody said, and then I said, I'm sure that's a movie playing. And then we said, well, why do you think, we went back and forth. Why are the doors locked? What should we do? We tried getting the doors open. We couldn't do that. I was convinced, and I tried to convince everybody, but everybody else was like, I don't know. Does that movie have dialogue? I can't hear any dialogue for this movie that's playing right now. Just a lot of music, a lot of organ music. And why would a show about, like the Jack the Doctor, and the steamed, I don't know, is it a movie about somebody that was in a bad mood, good, sometimes they're in a bad mood, sometimes they're in a good mood, but they change personalities, right? But no one else was, they said, well, it doesn't matter what movie it is if we can't get in there. And then we were like, I wonder if they're in there, And then something came, I think it was the locking of the door that made us realize, wait a second. So the Person Who Can't Be Seen's movie is still playing, right? And we've kind of entered in this world, especially after meeting the person who couldn't be seen, that this is like work and magic. And I mean, not a magic from a magic show or magic, something about the intersection of transverse plane means there's stuff happening beyond our understanding. Who do you think is playing the movies? Is it magic, or is someone, because the invisible person, the person who couldn't be seen, they never said they started the movie. And they couldn't start their own movie, right? And we said, let's go to a projectionist booth and find out. And as we were headed there, now the great news was that Josie had an older brother, and her older brother was a projectionist. But as we were walking there, talking, we were like, what would happen if we stopped the movie? Would the person who couldn't be seen... You know what I mean? And we said, well, we better make sure it's a real film, but maybe it's the kind of thing we can't damage the film. And so we went into the projectionist booth. Now, it was locked, but because Josie's brother worked there, Josie knew that up on the sill of the door, is that what it's called? The door frame. At the top of the door frame was where they kept the keys to the projectionist booth. So the projectionist would not have to get the key or carry the keys, because it was it used to be a nice job to have. But then when the multiplex came, it was just another thing that somebody would get assigned to have to deal with and do their shift. And also the reason people knew the keys is because it was a place where you could... if you needed some thinking time, or let's just say you wanted to kiss someone on the cheek, or have a couple drinks when you weren't supposed to, that was the place they did that. At least Josie's brother's friends. We didn't have a projectionist in our group of friends. And so we went into the projectionist booth, and we sensed something powerful, right? the combination that we'd sensed all along. There was magic, and that's not really an accurate word. You know what I'm saying? It's that something was happening, but the movie was playing, but so it was operating, but it was also there was something else coming off of the projector, right? Because it would have to change reels. Kind of looked a little bit fuzzy. And then we were kind of like, well, maybe we should stop the projector. And then we were like, well, maybe it's too bad we don't have like walkie-talkies or something, because we probably should keep an eye on the person who couldn't be seen. If we stop their movie, what happens? And so we were kind of coming up with a basic plan for that, of like, okay, well, maybe we'll stop the movie. Maybe we'll go, then how are we going to communicate? Who's going to stop the movie? Should we use a stick? What happens if you come in contact with a magical projector, or a projector in contact with some other, you know what I'm saying? And it was a lot of, we all did our own, ranging around and pacing and stuff. And that's when Santos said, hey, look, there's a big, air vent, right, or air duct, and there was some scraps of material hanging from the air duct. And Santos said, this is like a purple and green and blue. This is and Santos pulled the thing because it gotten caught in the corner of the air duct, which easily opened, it could be swung open. So the bottom screws had been removed, and it was on a hinge. And Santos said, this is the same, Crispy Commander's uniform, the same material. And we all said, well, maybe. And then we said, well, who's going to take a look inside this duct? And we pushed over some chairs. And eventually, I said, okay, I'll do it. I'm fine with, boost me up. And so this was a duct close to the ceiling, very large though, easily accessible by someone my size, average, 17 to 20-year-old. So I got up there and I wiggled my way in, and not far from wiggling my way in, I found some things. And because it was the projection booth, it was kind of what are those things called, a photo lab, or wherever you develop oh, that's probably, you don't know what that is either. The light wasn't great. So there was a box, and there was pieces of paper and a blanket. And I said, this is kind of like a cozy little spot. And then there was a lantern, and it was a battery-powered lantern. Now, back then, they had these giant lantern batteries, and I turned it on, but I was already handing the stuff out. But it kind of looked like a little cozy hangout. And there were pens. There was crumbled up paper. And I could hear my friends. They said, come back down. And they said, this is stationery. This is a stationery kit from the stationery store. And so we got, we started going, and then there was piles of letters. And some of the scrap paper was practice letters. And this was lovey-dovey. And that's actually the name of the stationery set. So I think this store in the mall was called Sailing the Seas of Stationery. Sailing the Stationery Seas. Maybe it was Sailing the Stationery Seas. That's kind of funny, because seas are rarely stationary. Sailing the Stationery Seas. I don't know. But we started going through these love letters. And, lovey-dovey. It meant that it had doves and love on it. Lovebirds, I guess you'd say. And it said lovey-dovey. So that's why it was something you'd do for Valentine's Day. You'd write love letters with. but more like we in high school would write love letters with. And then Josie was the first one. Josie goes, these are written by the Crispy Commander. These are Crispy Commander love letters and love poems. And I said, wait a second, what? And she said, yeah, these are love letters written by the Crispy Commander, Commander Crunch. And we were like, suddenly we felt like, even though we felt strange because we felt like we were in a private business of unreal character from a cereal box and the cereal commercials had become real. We'd found their way into their personal business. And so we all took a second because it was like so unreal. We kind of needed to lie around and read the poetry, but all in our own. We moved to different sections of the room and started to read through all these love letters and drafts of, and I even got out the rest of the drafts of poems. And maybe it was just because we were teens, or maybe it was because we were reading like someone else's love letters, like reading their diary. But it was someone that was both real and unreal at the same time. That it kind of like took a while, like almost like I think we even rested. And I think that's probably a good place for me to take a rest now. And then I'll get back to you with these love letters and love poems written by the Crispy Commander, Commander Crunch. Good night, everybody. All right, I want to thank everybody that supported the show on Sleep With Me Plus recently. I want to thank Carrie, Emily, Elaine. Thank you, thanks, good night. Laura, Abigail, and Jess. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Judy, Amelia, and Dan. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Christina, Justin, and Dennis. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Michael, Steve, and Elizabeth. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Grace, Abigail, and Stephanie. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Karen, Belinda, and Brian. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Summer, Kendra, and Tess. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Sarah, Jasmine, and Sophia. Thanks, and good night. Caitlin, Kennedy, and Zoe. Thank you, thanks, and good night. Thanks, everybody who supports the show directly on Sleep With Me Plus or Apple Podcasts or supported the show in the past, or people that support the sponsors or are part of our referral program, referring people to the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, this is Scoots. I'm talking about my Helix mattress. It's time for you to take that Helix quiz at helixsleep.com/sleep. This past episode was made possible by our friends at Helix, and it just got back in town after about a week away, and I spent my first night on my Helix last night. My Helix Dusk Lux, and I was so glad to be back in my own bed, made for how I want to sleep, for my body, my sleep positions. I mean, I love my Helix mattress. Helix has 20 unique mattresses. They got an award-winning Luxe Collection, Ultra Premium Elite Collection, the Helix Plus, a mattress designed for big and tall sleepers. Helix Kids mattresses designed for growing bodies and endorsed by child sleep experts. But how will you know which Helix mattress is best for you and your body? You take the Helix quiz and you can find your perfect mattress in under 2 minutes. That personalized mattress is shipped straight to your door free of charge. Helix knows there's no better way to test out a new mattress than by sleeping in your own home. That's why they offer a 100-night trial and a 10 to 15-year warranty to try out your new Helix mattress. Everybody's unique. Everybody sleeps differently. That's why Helix has several different mattress models to choose from, each designed for specific sleep positions and feel preferences. There's models with memory foam layers to provide optimal pressure relief if you sleep on your side, and models with a more responsive foam to cradle your body for essential support in stomach and back sleeping positions. There's enhanced cooling features to keep you from overheating at night. And if your spine needs some extra TLC, they got you. Every Helix mattress is a hybrid design, combining individually wrapped steel coils in the base, premium foam layers on top. Perfect combination of comfort and support. When I took the Helix sleep quiz, I got matched with the Helix Dusk. I picked the Dusk Luxe because I sleep on my side, I sleep on my stomach. I don't want to be overheating at night, so I love the cooling features. And not only was it an upgrade for me, it's an upgrade every mattress I sleep on, even at nice hotels, even visiting family and staying in a spare bedroom. I cannot wait to get back to my Helix. It's what I want to sleep on every single night. If I could pack it with me and take it wherever I go, I would. Not only is it the best mattress I have slept on, but the setup is fast and easy. The Helix mattresses are delivered in a box straight to your door for free. Plus, Helix mattresses all come with a 10 or 15-year warranty, depending on the model. And if you don't want to take my word for it, Helix has been awarded the #1 mattress pick by GQ and Wired magazine. It's even recommended by multiple leading chiropractors and doctors of sleep medicine as a go-to solution for improving your sleep. And Helix is offering 20% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/sleep. That's helixsleep.com/sleep. This is the best offer yet, and it won't last long. With Helix, better sleep starts now. Good night, everybody.